Mythology of a man in an iron suit, sacrificing himself to save the universe. Story of a man named Odysseus, sacrificing 10 years of his life just to get home. Two stories, thousands of years apart, both still taught to men today. Not because they're entertaining, but because every generation has to learn what it costs to survive before life makes them pay it in blood. A teenager gets power he didn't ask for, loses someone he loves because he didn't respect it, and walks away with a rule that's become so universal that people who've never even seen the movie can still recite it.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
It isn't a comic book line anymore. It's a modern proverb. It's doing the exact job the story of Icarus did for the Greeks, warning a young man about power before life has to teach him the hard way. And it isn't a one-off. Dune isn't just a desert epic about spice and sandworms. It's a warning that being chosen and being good are not the same thing, and that the power everyone begs you to accept can end up destroying everything you were trying to save. Different genre, different audience, same warning dressed up in new clothes. That's what mythology has always been. Not fantasy for its own sake, a survival manual disguised as a story, built so a man would actually sit still long enough to learn it. Take the Odyssey. On the surface, it's an adventure story on a man trying to get home, but underneath, it's a legal document. Every island Odysseus visits tests a single ancient law, Xenia, the sacred duty of hospitality. Treat a stranger badly, and Zeus himself was said to punish you, because in a world with no police and no borders, the only thing keeping a traveler alive was a stranger's decency. The myth wasn't entertainment, it was the entire justice system, wrapped in a story so it would actually get remembered. Walk into a modern blockbuster today and you're sitting through the exact same machinery the Greeks were running 3,000 years ago. A hero, a flaw, a trial that exposes the flaw. A cost paid to fix it, different costume, same skeleton. We didn't invent a new lesson, we just found a new bard. Here's where it gets interesting. Ancient civilizations didn't have one hero, they had a pantheon. Zeus, Athena, Ares, Hermes, a whole cast, each one representing a different value, so that whichever flaw you were struggling with, there was a god whose story spoke to it. Sound familiar? That's the entire structure of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Tony Stark is Prometheus, the genius who steals fire and pays for it. Steve Rogers is the last honest man in a dishonest age, a role every mythology has, from King Arthur to Rama. Thor is the most literal case of all. Marvel didn't even invent a new god, they just borrowed Norse mythology outright and put it in a cape, and the lesson didn't change either. A god who has to lose his hammer, his throne, and his pride before he's actually worthy of the power he was born into. And by the time you reach Avengers Endgame, the film isn't really about beating a villain. It's about sacrifice, the oldest currency in every mythology on Earth. The hero doesn't win by getting stronger than the threat, he wins by giving up the thing he loves most. When Tony Stark looks at the camera one last time and says, "I am Iron Man," that's not a superhero one-liner, that's the same emotional chord as a warrior giving his name before his final stand in an ancient epic, a hero claiming his identity in the exact moment he's about to lose everything for people who will never know his sacrifice. Endgame is one of the highest grossing films ever made, not because of the explosions, but because hundreds of millions of people, without realizing it, needed that story the same way a Greek village needed the story of Achilles. Maybe that's the real reason these movies hit as hard as they do. And it's not the visual effects, it's not the budget, it's that somewhere in a part of our brain older than language itself, we still know exactly what a story is for. We didn't stop needing myths the day we invented cinema, we just built a better campfire.